You and what army?
All right, there we go. It took a minute off. Let's have a good game.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Ready?
Yeah.
1e4, 1c5. This is Sicilian defense, more than likely. John's played a positional system with bishop to c4 that's popular at club level. We see here on the board now there's been exchanges on d4. And the game is afoot. I've put my queen on c7. I'll try and play a6 to keep knights and bishops off of b5. And I'll have less space. John will have more space. And we'll see if he can attack in the center over on the king side, and if I can get some play down the open c file. It was obvious that John wasn't expecting me to play like a Can or Tyamanov pawn structure in this game. Usually I play a move like d6 on the second move for black when playing the Sicilian. A move like knight b5 now wouldn't really accomplish much because my queen drops back to b8. And then the bishop on f8 and the queen both cover the square d6, so it's not like a knight can land there and cause problems. John develops that other knight to c3, and I post the property on b5 with the pawn move a6. While having less space, I do have a compact formation. It's very hard for him to break through anywhere, like the bishop on c4 that he has. Can't hit f7, there's a pawn on e6. Things can't land on d5 unless there's a sacrifice, which does happen in the Sicilian sometimes. But John opts for a different pathway in this game.
Let's do this.
The knight to b3 feels a little bit like, well, John's pieces are congested, and that bishop is still a loose piece on c4. I have to focus on developing my forces, though, before I try and get fresh with any tactics. John brings his queen out, perhaps thinking about tactics on e5, and if I move the pawn on b7, maybe there's loose pieces someday. But this is too early right now. I am trying to take advantage of John's obvious lack of familiarity with this setup I've employed. He's using a lot of time on the clock, and so I'm just trying to make good natural moves out of the opening. Now I pin his knight on c3 to his king, and I'd love to damage the pawns there, so if I do uncover an attack against his bishop, and the bishop on c4 moves away, then maybe there's a nice juicy pawn on c3 that I can capture with my queen and fork his king and rook on a1. This also does allow me to castle to my king side now as well, too. John creates a threat against my queen, and instead of moving the queen, I just move the pawn up from d7 to d6. My bishop looks backwards to defend it. The queen defends it. I do hope to, get out of that pin at some point. Maybe he may force me to push the pawn from e6 to e5 and to hit that bishop away. But I've got to be careful with my king in the center of the board. There I almost hit the other camera thinking it was a chess clock. Lost in thought.
Don't worry about that one, so let's do that.
John correctly castles his king, linking his rooks. That's one of your objectives out of the opening. I am behind in development, but I do get my king to safety now by castling. He is attacking d6 with the rook and the bishop. I do have to be careful here. I'm always telling people to watch out for Cobra Hand. There you can see my Cobra getting ready to strike, but I don't want to put poison into my own position, so you got to think about what you're going to do before you touch that piece. Now I still have a problem with the two rooks not looking at each other because of the bishop on c8, but I moved the rook to help defend d6 and so that my knight on f6 could drop back to e8, defending both g7 and d6. He's trying a tactic here because of the time on the clocks. Doesn't really work. Although I myself make a mistake later on and don't win the bishop on c4 with the best moves here. The e5 pawn sack was unwarranted in this position, but he's looking to try and create some open lines for his pieces.
So right after I read it, I'm like, why did you do that, Debbie?
La Vida Chess Loca Blitz Chess Loca. I was expecting a different move and I auto-piloted that move there. I should have grabbed the bishop with my queen. I am potentially allowing a disaster on the back rank. That bishop should be moved from c8 to d7 at some point in this game. That move hangs the bishop on c4, LPDO, loose pieces drop off.
There, waiting for you to do that. I don't have time to mess around now.
And here John's flag falls.
Wonderful little